Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto. Hope you're all doing great, and welcome to this new video here on the crypto markets. We're going to do a full update, talk about Bitcoin. There's 3 altcoins that I wanted to put a spotlight on at the end of the video. We'll do an XRP update, and we'll talk about some news. Starting off with the news so far, the market opening has been slightly bearish, as you can see from the S&P 500, which also has a bit of a bearish effect on Bitcoin. But I do want to stress that at the moment, look, Bitcoin can certainly push down lower, especially if we see some sort of a sell the news effect after the US-UK trade deal, which is the main news event going on right now, of course, which I almost am tempted to look whether we actually had an update on that, because it feels like that. It's we don't have the complete data, but I just made a video on the second channel talking about that could be a sell the news effect. So far, the S&P 500 is also pulling back a little bit. You might say we're filling the gap, pulling back slightly, not much, and that in combination with the volume we've seen from Bitcoin. Volume again is very, very high. We have a Coinbase Bitcoin premium, which means that there's still bidding coming in from Coinbase, which is historically always quite bullish. And then technically Bitcoin's reactions to support. I mean, we had a bit of an imbalance right here around 99,100. And after the US opening, a very strong reaction to that as well. So I think it's foolish for me to say right now that I expect a pullback. It's a possibility, of course. I mean, we're getting towards the end of the week. And what we saw last week is that when the leverage was quite high, which is also the case right now, but that when the leverage is quite high, that we did see a bit of de-risking into the end of the week, into the weekend. So that is something to be aware of, right? And that is something to take into account. But given the volume, given the Coinbase Bitcoin premium, and given the fact that the S&P 500 so far is still holding up, I'm going to have to say that my bias remains bullish. The main support levels that we're talking about right now are 99,000 and 98,400. A little bit lower, we have the support level right here at 97,500. If I would have to give you my thoughts right now, I'd say it's most likely we are going for a level a bit higher, towards 100,000 or towards 100,000, just above that. Short term is possible, especially if the US equities push down. It's possible that we test these imbalances down here, but for now it still remains most likely that we will be able to hold balance here and that we will be able to get a continuation for Bitcoin a little bit higher. Now, talking about the Bitcoin dominance, that has also still been falling. This is the biggest drop in Bitcoin dominance in I don't know how long. I mean, it almost seems to be the biggest drop since the middle of March. When from the top to the bottom we also had a pretty significant drop. So altcoins, I also still think that you'd have to be bullish on them. All right. Now, saying that, I mean, we are, especially if you zoom all the way out for Bitcoin here, we are at relatively high levels, right, relative to the price action of the last couple of months. So if we see some sort of bearish confirmation coming from anything, fundamentals, technicals, then things can turn around very, very quickly. But given the data that we have right now, I have to make the assumption that altcoins are going higher and that Bitcoin will follow suit. Altcoins are at resistance now as well. As you can see, this is others, but still, regardless of that, we have to make the conclusion that we're going higher with the potential to fill some minor imbalances to the downside. All right. So, like I said, if I would have to say what's most likely, for Bitcoin, I'd say something like this: bit of a pullback, stability, continuation on the lower time frames, right? So we're talking about lower time frame Bitcoin here. Now, so like I said, I mean, talking about the fundamentals here, S&P 500 opened a little bit, opened higher, pushed back, so that's still holding fine as well. Talking about some altcoins here, XRP has continued to move up as expected also in a video this morning. Main price target for XRP is this imbalance we've left, this fair value gap towards 2.28, 2.26, which also just coincides with a normal intraday resistance zone. It's a pretty strong one, so breaking above that, I don't really expect. Volume for XRP is also not really increasing anymore. But further bullish confirmation, I do expect that. And I could spend the next 10 minutes talking about other altcoins. I think you need to watch, but there's a couple of ones that I wanted to put a spotlight on. I mean, I briefly want to see here if there's any I missed here. No, I don't think so. I mean, like I said, altcoins in general, even though they're at resistance, it still feels like, looking at the Bitcoin dominance in combination with the Bitcoin price that we can still see continuation. So there's a couple of altcoins that I wanted to discuss. Like I said, first one being Bitcoin Cash. So that's BCH. Bitcoin Cash broke above this major high time frame resistance zone around $400 with the highest volume we've seen since the 6th of March right here, which was just after we also had, just after the crypto reserve update, I think. So this looks good for continuation. If we can actually hold this breakout, looks good to go higher into 450, maybe even 500. Seems weird, but the volume suggests that slightly. A different one would be Sonic. Sonic's volume has been quite good here. It's still within, if you zoom all the way out, it's quite it's in a consolidation, of course, but we already saw quite a lot of volume come in at the beginning of May here, and this looks in general, this looks good after a strong bounce from the POC to rally into the range highs, which are at 62-64 cents, which from the current price is still a rally of about 13-14%. Doesn't mean you should buy it right now. We have some imbalances here, but in general my bias on Sonic is quite bullish. And then the last one I wanted to talk about, but this is a very risky one. It's a meme coin, but it's Mudeng. All right, some of you might still remember this. This went absolutely crazy in November and October, but looks very good. All right, you can see the main level we'd need to break above for continuation is 5.5 cents. But it has already broken above the main key level at 5 cents with volume. So this is definitely the most risky one I've told you about in this video, but it seems worth the watch. All right, so that's what I wanted to talk about in this video. I tried to keep it pretty short and concise. These are my thoughts on Bitcoin, but I'll keep. I mean, Bitcoin right now is that volatile that I almost have to make a video every 2 hours. So make sure to follow me on X if you'd want to be updated on Bitcoin more. But these are my thoughts for now. So thank you for watching. I'll see you on my next videos, and bye.